Who really killed John Garner and why? The scene inside the Garner home on January 2, 2018 was brutal. John, 42, had been shot in cold blood. Sandra, his 55-year-old wife, claimed to have been an innocent bystander when an unknown intruder broke into their home. When authorities arrived, Sandra was distraught and was eager to help the investigation in whatever way she could. Everything was captured on body cam, and at no point did she seem like she was putting on a performance. She voluntarily went to the station and gave her account of what happened. Initially, Sandra thought she was an asset to the investigation, but that soon changed. She described how she awoke to 2 gunshots and saw a masked man standing over her husband, holding a gun and flashlight. The intruder allegedly told her he wasn't there to hurt her, but had come to settle a personal score with John, blaming him for ruining his life years earlier. John was known to be a strict boss who took pleasure in firing people he thought weren't performing up to his standards. It made sense that he'd have a few enemies. After taking a stash of money, $18,000 according to Sandra, the intruder ordered her into the bathroom and told her to count to 100. If he heard sirens, he threatened to come back and finish the job. As Sandra recounted the events to the authorities, a strange pattern started to emerge. For one, no forced entry was found in the home, which raised suspicions. The killer had entered without breaking in, as if he had a key or was known to the family. Sandra's recounting of the events appeared to have holes in it. She claimed that the masked man spoke to her with an air of familiarity, even citing past grievances involving John. Was this truly the account of a terrified woman, or was something more sinister at play? Investigators found more inconsistencies. Sandra's son, Wes, who had been one of the last people to speak to John before his death, quickly became a key player in the investigation. His behavior was perplexing. He seemed to shift blame onto his mother, questioning the details of her story with an unsettling detachment. "Why didn't the dogs bark?" he asked. How did the killer know how to get in? He didn't seem to buy the intruder story, and in fact, appeared to be more suspicious of Sandra than of anyone else. But the most damning evidence came from Sandra's digital footprint. Authorities discovered that just days before John's murder, Sandra had conducted disturbing internet searches on her devices. Phrases like, "how to kill someone and not get caught," and 16 ways to kill someone in their sleep appeared in her search history. This raised an alarming red flag. Sandra's actions did not align with the image of a terrified wife who had just witnessed her husband's murder. Things took a darker turn when investigators found a .38 caliber pistol in Sandra's car, wrapped in a plastic bag and hidden under the seat. The weapon matched the one used to kill John. Initially, police had searched Sandra's car, but did not find the gun. It wasn't until 3 days later that the weapon reappeared, seemingly out of nowhere. Sandra's refusal to let investigators search her Mustang only added to the growing suspicion. When the gun was finally discovered, it became clear something wasn't right. Despite Sandra's claims of innocence, the evidence was mounting against her. The weapon used to kill John was the same one she had been given by her husband. It seemed unlikely that a killer would use their victim's own gun, especially when they had access to numerous other firearms in the house. In fact, there were well over 40 other guns. And yet, there it was. Sandra was also found with gunshot residue on her hands. Sandra was subsequently arrested, with prosecutors certain they had their killer. But Sandra's defense attorneys sought to poke holes in the case against her. They pointed out the gunshot residue found on Sandra, but argued that it wasn't enough to prove she had fired the weapon. They suggested that the residue could have been transferred during the chaos of the murder scene. The defense also raised questions about the investigation itself, specifically how poorly the crime scene had been handled. The failure to bag Sandra's hands, for instance, might have prevented further evidence from being collected, and the initial search of her car had missed the crucial weapon. But even with these arguments, the prosecution had a strong case. Sandra had no alibi for John's murder, and the lack of a solid motive only made her behavior more suspicious. She had been financially comfortable with John alive, so why would she want him dead? Was it the $18,000, or was there a more personal reason for ending his life? As the trial progressed, a grim pattern began to emerge. While Sandra stuck to her story, there was a prevailing sense that something didn't add up. Was it possible that the woman who had so publicly declared her love for her husband could also be the one to pull the trigger? Sandra's son, Wes, continued to cast doubt on her story, even though he had no definitive proof to implicate her. He seemed almost too eager to implicate his mother, especially considering his suspicious behavior following John's death. Some began to speculate that Sandra's son, Wes, might have had a greater motive than anyone realized. However, the lack of any concrete evidence linking him directly to the crime only added to the confusion. After a lengthy investigation and trial, the jury reached a verdict. Sandra Garner was acquitted of her husband's murder. It was a shocking outcome, leaving many questioning whether justice had truly been served. The prosecution had failed to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and Sandra's defense had managed to cast enough doubt on the integrity of the investigation. For Sandra, it was a bittersweet victory. While she had been cleared of the charges, John's family still believed in Sandra's guilt, and the questions surrounding John's murder would never be fully answered. Was Sandra the victim of a flawed investigation and a twisted crime, or did she get away with murder?